Moving on. Couple more ways to think about absolutely nailing your interview. Ask a lot of questions. As I said, I had applied to a job in investment banking and was invited for an interview in this investing group, the special situations group. I knew very little about what this group did, and that turned out to be very fortunate for me because I had a lot of genuine questions to ask. I really had no idea what this group actually did, and it was difficult for me to find that out online. The benefit of asking questions is A, it shows interest. B, it's a sign of asking a good question is a sign of intelligence and analytical abilities. And C, any airtime you get asking questions is airtime that cannot be spent asking you questions. So it's good to get as much of that airtime as possible. Qualitative versus quantitative. I alluded to this in the previous slide. At risk of sounding generic, you want to see the forest and the trees at the same time. So on brain teasers and case studies, try to drill down to actual numbers. Even if the questions are very high level, try to get to financial metrics of a company's performance, ways to show that you can be quantitatively analytical. If you can get math involved in your answers, that will behoove you in most cases. At the same time, keep in mind that that'll drive you towards a very specific answer to a very broad question. And so you'll be at risk of coming across as too much in the weeds and focusing on the details and not really getting the big picture. If this shoe manufacturer, for example, has factories in countries where there might be a security risk, let's say you have factories in Venezuela where there's a history of appropriation by the government, it would be unfortunate if you get to a very specific assumption on the company's profitability and therefore recommendations for how to improve the company without addressing the fact that having business in a country like Venezuela is a significant risk to be aware of as an advisor and as an investor. So let's assume you get the job or the internship. What do you do to seal the deal, to either make sure you get good reviews, or if it was an internship, to make sure you get the offer for a full-time position? So how do you impress in your first 100 days there? First of all, again, questions. You're going to go in there and probably a lot of things are going to be very intimidating. There will be many things that you don't quite understand. You have a free pass in your first couple months there to ask any question, and no question will be seen as stupid. So any question that crosses your mind, make sure you either ask right away or jot it down for later. Again, it shows that you have real interest. It shows that you have a desire to learn, and it makes sure that you don't have a snowball effect where a seemingly a question that you're afraid to ask early on later becomes a question that was critical for you to know the answer to, but as time goes on, it becomes difficult. It becomes more difficult for you to ask the quote-unquote stupid questions. Be exhaustive. By this I mean really try to get involved and observe every part of the business. If there are optional meetings to go to, attend those meetings. Show extreme hunger to know what is going on, to learn the processes of a business unit, and to get involved. It would be oftentimes it can seem intimidating to sort of force your way into certain meetings, but any invitation extended, jump on it and try to get involved in as much as possible that goes on within a business. Part of this is also networking, which is the third bullet point. Literally take every colleague of yours to coffee within the first month. Because similarly to my point about asking questions, if you haven't developed a little bit of rapport with a colleague by week 3, it'll be more difficult to invite them in week 4 and more difficult in week 5 and so on. So get there early. There's absolutely nothing awkward about walking up to a colleague and saying, hey, we haven't really had a chance to chat. I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. Do you have time for a quick coffee? I highly, highly encourage this. It'll be helpful in how you get to understand and navigate the political structure of a team or group within a bank. Finally, take initiatives. If it strikes you as a good idea, if you do some research and come up with a little news tidbit about a company one morning, and a couple superiors say, oh wow, that was really helpful, thanks for sharing that information, jump on that opportunity to do that on a daily basis. Send around a little daily news flash if that's something that if it seems like something that people would really benefit from. This is not at all cheesy. This is a great way to put yourself on the radar, get to know people, and show that you're hungry to learn. This way, people will be more likely to pull you into interesting projects and want to work with you.